Hi everyone, welcome. Well, we're down here in my VermiBag Mini, and if it had not been for the friendly comment of one of my viewers, I would have completely overlooked the fact that we just blew by on day 730, the system's 2-year anniversary, so happy 2 years in service. That was 5 days ago. But I guess it was just the excitement of reaching 700 days, which was up until then, up until 5 weeks ago, my record for how long I ever had a worm bin in service. Now this system has taken over as the new record holder. It's still going strong, and we've already kind of penciled in a day on the calendar for next year. On the system's 1000th day in service was thought to maybe be a good day to target the harvest, which actually puts it in line with next season's planting, spring garden, so or summer garden, whatever. So the timing of it is really good from that perspective. And as far as space goes, I do believe we probably have enough space in here to keep going. Somehow the system keeps receding and collapsing and becoming smaller in size. Even though we keep trying to raise the level, we've done a really good job, because I'll go right to the bottom. I'll excavate to where you can see it. All the way down there is the level that we always maintained here for whatever reason. I believe that was actually where I intentionally started it as, but basically it was the bottom pane of that little view window where the system started and always stayed up until just more recently. I mean, we're 2 years into service with this thing now, but I think it was only perhaps the past 6 months that I really began making an effort to see what we could do about raising the level of the material in here, because it just always seemed like it would be nice to be more like the other worm channels where they're always kind of teetering on full. The worms will work it back down to a level, leaving just enough for a super generous application of bedding and foods. And then next time there's always enough space to do it again. Although I must say it is kind of nice having the working space. I do always typically like to avoid coming too close to a systems or a container in general, I guess. Any container's maximum storage capacity, because that doesn't leave any room for doing what we're doing now, is kind of moving the material around and feeling like you're well enough protected with plenty of remaining spare space in the system to move things around. So I bought my water bottle with me, thinking that maybe today would be another day that we would want to add moisture, because even though for many months now the system's not needed any moisture for whatever reason, the past couple check-ins, it seemed like a little added moisture would be good, and that's exactly what we did. We sprayed in moisture. But I must say, going around that, I mean, right away, even right in the very beginning, I could already tell that the material had a really nice moisture level to it, and it was just confirmed as I continued all the way around that adding more moisture today does not seem like it would be needed. So whatever, we could always change our mind. My water bottle's within reach. I brought it over so it's right next to me, but if we don't use it, then that's okay too. And I really like the look of this material, For some reason, I've always had this sort of predisposition to this system for the longest time because of the way the outer edges of it would get a little bit dry and hard. I guess my predisposition was that if you really want the nice soft damp material, which is going to obviously be the space where the worms hang out, they can't really even be in dry material, but getting the edges hydrated was there it is finally. I was looking for the second mango seed for a while now. So I guess my point is that I went around the whole system with some of this bubble wrap that you might see little traces of here and there hanging into the frame once in a while. Well, not really. It stays put for the most part. I wrapped this system in plastic bubble wrap with the bubbles inside, allowing for a little bit of airflow beneath itself. And with the exception of the last check-in, I don't think we've had to add any moisture, or very little over all that time. So now it just feels like going right out to the walls, especially now. All the material just felt so nice going around there. Perhaps even a little drier than what's right down here in the middle, which is maybe what made it so nice, the way it just crumbled much more readily. This stuff's a little more damp and tending to stick to itself a bit more, but as I went around, man, that stuff was really nice. So let's check out what we got for them. I got potato peel, part of a tomato down there, even some peels off of a cucumber, and a couple days worth of coffee I'd like to do away with as well today. But I've also got my prepared bedding. Let's begin by laying in a little bit of this, which is always prepared with moisture, but not always the same amount of moisture. Sometimes my prepared bedding's super damp, other times it's not so. On this go around, it's kind of in the middle, so it's coming in such a way that's making me, I guess, gravitate more towards not adding any extra moisture with my spray bottle. Just let the system ride, because this stuff is so nice throughout. So let's I guess the other nice thing is we're going to have 2 feeding zone indicators that we could use to rest out on the top surface. Little tradition is I like to take these coffee filters, since they're always showing up after I feed coffee. I've always got these coffee filters. They're going to help us mark where we last fed with basically a top covering of paper. And before we forget, I'm going to lay down a little grit for these guys, and then as they slither by to check out these delicious morsels of food, they'll encounter all that grit, and that'll make them twice as happy. I hope. So yeah, not too much of a generous feeding today, I must admit, but the bedding we laid down in the beginning, perhaps we could even lay down another handful here at the end. That all doubles as food to a certain point too. But it's those delicious juicy kitchen scraps that you would have to assume they like the best, because that stuff always goes so quick. All the bedding goes too eventually, but some of the foods you give them is going to go pretty quick. And on that topic, those 2 mango seeds, I even made the suggestion during the last check-in, which is when they went in here, that I might just give the worms a chance to strip those clean of any lingering fruity matter on it still, and then I might pull them out. But who cares? We could just leave them in there. I think I made a comment along the lines of how I was sort of over playing around with slow composting foods, pumpkin stems, corn cobs, mango seeds. I guess I'm not that over it. I'm always up for it. What the heck? We'll just keep them in there, and we always have the option to change our minds later, right? All right, everyone. Well, that's it for our check-in. Quick little check-in with the now 2+-year-old VermiBag Mini, doing so nice in here ever since we wrapped it in plastic, and since we've been able to manage a good damp conditions for them. And right now it just seems like such almost perfect conditions that they're living in. And it was kind of fun seeing a good number of worms as we explored. A lot of times we'll come in here and maybe the worms are down deep, and a lot of times they're playing hide and seek with us, but today was kind of a fun worm spotting day too. So that's it for the video, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well.